Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's event, the virtual lunch and learn with Razor Game. We really appreciate your time here with us today. Um, just to give a short introduction, this session today is all about the Tentacle Zone, specifically their incubator program, but more so the lovely individuals who make up the program and have made it such a renowned project across the industry. And we're not only going to explore some of the support offerings on the program today, but we're also going to deep dive into individuals themselves, not only of their experiences before the incubator, but also during and now after the incubator. So to kick it all off, we are having a quick fire round of questions with some of the support network of the incubator that include Vincent, Nisha, and AJ. Now, I won't give too much of an intro for them because it's always best to let the person themselves do it. So let's kick off these intros with AJ. Please tell the lovely audience a bit more about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm AJ Grand Scrutton, so I'm the CEO of Delala Studios. So I kind of handle the running of the studio from a kind of biz dev perspective, and stuff that isn't necessarily operations and finance. And then I'm also, well, now one of the game/creative directors here at the studio. So kind of, I'm most known for being the director on the Battletoads sequel that came out in 2020.
Amazing. Vincent, please intro yourself.
Hi, yes, my name is Vincent. Thanks very much for having us on, Dom. It's really nice to be here. I'm one of the founders of Payload Studios. Payload is a London-based indie games company that we set up back in 2013 to make a game called Teratek, which we then made and is now on PC and console. I've been in the industry on the legal business affairs side for 25 years.
Excellent. And Nisha, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Dom. I'm Nisha. I'm program director at the Tentacle Zone. We've been going since 2016, I believe, actually, which started off as an expo stand, helping around 200 games through the stand while we were trying to showcase Teratek. That evolved into a co-working space, which then during COVID launched with this virtual incubator. So yeah, really happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here today. So let's kick it off so that we can kind of not only share more. So I'll start with you, Vincent, and ask, why was it important for Payload to run an initiative like the Tentacle Zone and the incubator that you started last year?
Well, when we set up in 2013, we basically had no money. We were skint, and that's pretty much been the story of the first few years of our business. So originally, the Tentacle Zone was set up almost of necessity to help us and other indie devs in the same position to be able to exhibit our games at consumer shows in better places for lower cost. And it's just from that really that we started to see not just the financial benefits of cooperation, but far more benefits that weren't immediately financial, of working with other companies in the same area as us. And that then evolved into a shared workspace, as Nisha mentioned, where we have, I think, 10 different games companies all in the same place, and we have a great deal of knowledge sharing and cooperation between us. And then the question was, I think when Black Lives Matter really started to happen, how can we what can we do? And the massive firepower that we have from this experience of cooperation with other indie studios seemed like the best way of actually making a real difference.
That's fantastic. Especially love the kind of humble beginnings as well, because a lot of companies that you'll support for the incubator will exactly have gone through that same story as yourselves.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is really this kind of stuff that we really would have liked to have had right at the start. So as an example, we started out in a serviced office in Hammersmith, and we never knew anyone else in the building. We were the only games companies in our little room, and all the others were kind of other businesses. And it's so much better now to be in a position where you share the building with other games companies who have other expertise, and really would have been something great that we would have, if we'd had that right at the start, it would have helped us a lot. So a lot of it has been informed by what our early experiences were.
Amazing. And just to explain the incubator, in case anyone watching the stream is brand new to it, Nisha, could you give a quick summary of the incubator and how it works?
Yeah, sure. So we launched during COVID. So immediately we thought this will have to be virtual, which ended up working really well in terms of trying to make it as inclusive as possible. So we were able to move outside of London and open up to UK devs, European devs for our first iteration last year. And essentially, we did research speaking to the University of Greenwich, with Tonic Games Group last year, who are one of our partners, as well as Green Man Gaming, and of course, Yuki. And we sort of said, what are the barriers facing founders from underrepresented groups? And a lot of the research that came back was, around the fact that many grads, for example, who might want to go down the entrepreneurial route, they just don't have the time. They've got a job, they might have a second job, they're trying to work on a portfolio at the same time, and they don't have a network, they don't have industry connections, they might be completely new to the sector. And we sort of translated that over to founders as well. If you don't know anyone in the industry and you can't get your foot in, especially as we were all virtual, what could we do as a studio, as Payload? And then we had this Tentacle Zone initiative anyway, which was full of industry people, either trying to exhibit their game or giving back to the industry, and recognizing that we needed to progress on inclusion and equality in our sector. So it all came together in a 4-month program that covered development, design, production, business, finance, marketing. You get attached to a mentor that's quite bespoke to your needs, and that person's with you throughout the whole program. And in AJ's case, he carried on his mentoring relationship with one of the devs. They got along really well, and I know AJ was able to give back. Maybe he'll expand on that. But that's 4 months of intense industry talks, all delivered by people who have either represent other groups themselves or have a ton of experience and want to give back. So really, we've condensed a program where hopefully you'll come out with loads of connections, maybe a platform to meet publishers, angels, in a better place with your game, and just ready to showcase it at the end of the program to consumers as well. So it's for early stage devs, but and it's free. But 4 months of your time to hopefully make a lot of connections.
What a fantastic offering, and especially love the aspect of mentoring. Which, speaking, AJ, what attracted you to get involved and be a part of the mentoring? Because as Nisha established, it seems like you made a really good impact on the program.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And first of all, if you hear snoring, it's not me, I'm afraid. It is it's this monster sitting on my lap, so be prepared. Yeah, look, so to be honest, the big initial push for me to join into this was my team here. So, one of the things we got back from the internal survey was, the team were very happy working at Delilah, but they'd love to see us engaging with the industry on a whole more. And I have definitely kept us quite secluded at times. I've had a couple of mentors that I've kind of took on, not through a program, that I've had for like the better part, one of them for 3 years, one of them for 8. But what really appealed to me with this was that, I've personally not been necessarily great at reaching out to the more underrepresented elements of the games industry. I'm very lucky in that I'm a basic white dude in an industry full of basic white dudes. And I've took that for granted myself. So kind of when this program came up, it was really engaging. And then speaking to Nisha, I was very easily sold on this. It was a great program from a great place. in something that was an obvious flaw that I had. Obviously, I was very lucky I got given Tim, who is just an absolutely wonderful human being and an incredible developer. You know, and one thing was that I think the biggest problem I had with Tim was not him taking the mick with my time, was forcing him to use more of my time and making him not worried about like reaching out to me when he needed me, kind of arranging stuff. And yeah, like Nisha said, the relationship worked fantastic. It introduced me to this incredible developer making this fantastic game. And we've carried it on. Like we still speak regularly. We do check-ins, as well as working through kind of his pitch decks and things like this, which was a big part of what I helped him with. Not necessarily the game creative, but how to then sell it to publishers, because it's what I've spent the better part of 10 years doing. I then also gave him access to my team. So he actually pitched the game to all the department heads at Dlala, who then each gave him feedback. We're going to be setting up some play sessions here so that we'll get members of the Dlala team playing his game, giving him the feedback on the game. But he's never forced any of this. He's never necessarily come forward and asked for it. He's been very respectful, which was great. And it's been, I think I've took more benefit from it than he has, to be honest. And it's the most cheesy, cliche mentor thing to say in the entire world, but it is true. He first of all, he helped me fix this flaw that I had already identified and my team had identified. But secondly, the other teams I've mentored have been further along in the process. They've been established studios with teams. And so it's been very much a one-to-one of like where Dlala is now. I just look back and go, okay, well, 3 years ago, that's where these guys are. So I can tell them the mistakes I made and how to avoid it. Tim's very much like, from a talent perspective, he's 10 years ahead of where we were 10 years ago. But he is at that spark, the absolute kind of initial spark of starting a company and trying to figure out how you go from being a developer to being a studio. And it's been lovely to kind of be able to take him through part of that journey and think to myself, oh, wow, like the stuff that I could have told 10 years ago, AJ, the things to watch out for, like just, yeah, I was very lucky that I very early got a mentor in Craig Duncan from Rare, met him like months after starting Dlala, and he's been the most incredible person for me, the most incredible supportive, and also one of my best friends now. And so to be able to feel like I could be there for the start of Tim's journey, and he doesn't need me that much. I've got to be honest. Like, he's just going to absolutely smash it, and I can't wait till one day I'm begging him for money, because yeah, he's going to go super far, and that won't be because of me. That will be because he's just brilliant, and it's great for me to just be able to like prod him and say, hey, dude, like, you've got this fantastic pitch deck. Be ready to make 27 versions because every stinking publisher wants a different one. And just give him those lessons that you don't necessarily get in school, in education, from working from someone else. So yeah, I mean, I've loved being part of the program, which is why I'm A, continuing it with Tim, and B, I've signed up to do it all over again. So yeah, no, it's been brilliant.
That's absolutely what I love most about that is there's kind of two sides of it. It's the side that you yourself were promoted by your team to get involved, and it's almost strengthened you as an individual as well. But what I equally love is harking back to Vincent's point about it's about giving something that we didn't have when we were established, like for a Payload, by creating the incubator. You yourself have now made that kind of opportunity and atmosphere for Tim, and hopefully the next mentee that you're going to get partnered with for this year's program. So I absolutely love that aspect. And I guess, Vincent, to kind of ask you, have you, across the network of the incubator, have you seen that kind of relationship bloom with other mentors and mentees, and just overall kind of the impact that the first year has had, not only within your network, but on your studio?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo what AJ said, actually, because he put it better than I could. I had exactly the same experience. I'd never had a mentoring relationship in the past, and that this is the first time I've done that myself. And I really benefited from it. It was really nice, really useful, fascinating to see different people from different backgrounds, different challenges. Some of the challenges are the same that we're used to, others were different, and I probably took more out of it than they did as well. And And that's the feedback that I've had from my colleagues who also got involved, which was that they really just enjoyed it. It wasn't a problem for them. As AJ says, it's really almost the difficulty is getting people to take as much advantage as they can without feeling that they're kind of impinging on our time or whatever, because the fact that we do benefit from it means that it's not an impingement of time at all.
Amazing. And just noticing, I mean, I was hoping there would be more flashes of questions from my side, but because your answers have been so amazing, I've just kind of let you guys speak. So to kind of finish this segment, Nisha, could you explain the aspect of support for the program? Because I've noticed that year one support is slightly different than this year's support, with new sponsors and some new sessions on offer.
Definitely. So this year we have Exion coming on board as a partner, who we're so grateful for. We had a couple of mobile devs, and Salman will talk more about that in the next segment. But it's great having a new partner that can bring in a different aspect, to the actual content. And just earlier, I was speaking to one of our programmers at Payload, and he's a mentor this time, and he'll be doing some troubleshooting. And we tried to run some general technical sessions in last year's program. And what we realized is a lot of the devs that come on board, some of them don't have a programming background. Some are only programmers and have no business background or marketing experience. So we're going to try and do more troubleshooting this time round, where, we kind of try and get people at the level they're at, and then book them in with some time with one of our programmers to actually dive into what they specifically need help with, as opposed to more of a general talk, because we want them to get the most out of a session and progress on their game. So yeah, we're making it a bit more targeted this year. There'll still be peer-to-peer support between the developers, and hopefully there'll be an international flavor to who's coming on board, judging from the application so far. So hopefully the devs themselves will make great relationships and a support group that they can stay in touch with after the program ends.
Amazing. So this concludes our kind of first segment of this event, but don't worry, anyone who's watching, Vincent, AJ and Nisha will be back towards the end to answer any audience questions or any remaining questions that I have burning for them. But just so it gives people a chance to grab a drink of water or such, we'll go for a 1 minute break, and then we'll be back with a panel of some of the first cohort of the incubator who will tell their experiences and where they're at now. So we'll be back in a minute's time.
Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, everyone. We are now back. I hope anyone was able to quickly grab a drink or some kind of energy booster, because next up we have a lovely panel session with some of the faces of the first cohort. So instead of me giving an introduction to these lovely individuals, I'll let them do it because they best know themselves. So we'll start with someone. If you can go first.
Hi, my name is Salman Shuri. I'm I okay. I release games under the name Gasenimo Games, and I've released on mobile, PC. If you can name it, I've probably released on something on there. So yeah.
Excellent. And then Eleanor, if we go to you next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Elena. I founded Yaldi Games, and we're developing a life sim called Wholesome Out and About, which is about foraging and real life information integrated into the game.
And our last lovely face. Just because I've mispronounced two, I don't want to get 3 strikes, I'm out. So please introduce your lovely self.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura, and I'm currently the founder and director at Balloon Studios, where we're working on a first-person puzzle game called Botany Manor. Botany Manor is a game about puzzling as a botanist and doing research on plants and set inside a grand English manor.
Fantastic. Thank you. And it is so great to have all of you here today. I love the aspects of each of your kind of philosophies around games because each of you are in different situations. So as you kind of explained, Lauren, you are creating your team and expanding it as a studio. Am I correct in saying?
Yeah, so we founded the studio last year, I think. So it's a pretty new studio, but we signed a publishing deal for it last year. So that's given us the budget to expand and find people to work on the game that aren't just myself. So it's been really nice to kind of grow the game and the company.
Fantastic. And Selman, you're a solo developer. So how's that experience been?
Well, I'm not a solo developer by choice, but I'll just say that. But it has made me consider more, what's it called, games that have like shorter, like made in shorter timescales. So I always have to make sure to consider the business model, whether it's if I'm releasing on web, mobile, or console PC, and that brings its own set of challenges, and also trying to meet different player expectations and demographics, so each game's tailored or some way or another. Yeah.
That is quite different contrast, but equally its own. It sounds quite well. Not because you obviously don't want to be, but equally because you are sustaining it. And I think that's what makes it such a wonderful journey to hear about. And of course, I don't know, where in terms of your current state of journey and company, please tell us more about it.
Yeah, so what I've been doing is more like bootstrapping. So we've been winning, a few grants and competitions, and while we are essentially pitching to publishers, but we've been like continuing developing the game and the prototype and turning it into a demo so that we can do crowdfunding this year. So I currently have 2 artists and 2 programmers, and I'm gonna get a tech designer on board this week as well. And yeah, so that's currently what's happening. So we're growing the team as well, looking to get a producer in soon, and then looking to pitch, like it's kind of a split between if we want to go with a publisher or if we should self-publish on PC and go with angel investment and that kind of situation.
Amazing. And just in that kind of span of time, we've got 3 completely different journeys, but how they've interlocked through the incubator is quite fascinating. So to kind of go a bit backwards and kind of think of the humbling beginnings of your kind of application process and getting involved. And I know a very blunt question, but why bother to apply for the incubator in the first place?
Honestly, it was the first incubator that had such a focus on women, and it was also the first incubator that I heard about that was specifically for games. And I was like, wow, this is perfect, because I've been part of a lot of accelerators before, but they were all business and tech. So I was like, wow, this is really cool. So it's a game incubator, and I have a good chance at getting in because I fit, the criteria, which was really cool, because otherwise you're competing with a much larger pool, and of people who are much further down the road. So I really appreciate that opportunity, right? Like that focus on the minorities, so that we have a chance of getting in there and getting that experience.
And kind of talking about the criteria as well, did you find that really accessible and easy to follow and meet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I filled out lots of applications for accelerators before. Like, some of them ask for really lengthy essays and things like that. And I remember that process of like for the Tentacle Zone being really, straightforward and short, and like not a pain at all. Like that was really easy and simple to do. And then I heard back very quickly as well, I think. So it was all just really smooth.
Excellent. And then Lauren, similar to yourself, what was your kind of pre-steps before applying and then taking on board the application process of the incubator?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was still working full-time then as a programmer at Us2 Games, and I was kind of working on Botany Manor in my free time and kind of having big plans for it to take it to a publisher and stuff. But I was very, very early in that stage, I would say. So when I saw I think I saw it on a WhatsApp group being shared somewhere. And for me, what triggered me to apply was that I forgot who it was, but the person who shared it said, like, you don't need to be working full time on your game, and it's totally fine if you have a full-time job while working on your game. Because I think with a lot of incubators and accelerators, there's this expectation that you are already committed to it full time, and that you already have the money to sustain yourself, and you already kind of know what you're doing. And I think seeing that reassurance was like, okay, great, like that's where I'm at. And which makes a lot of sense, I feel, because it focuses on underrepresented groups. Most of the people aren't really in the situation to already be working on it full time. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle, really. And I think, yeah, seeing that was just really reassuring. And then it just became quite simple to apply. Like, it was a pretty straightforward process. And yeah, like Elena said, heard back very quickly and very happy to got in.
And from kind of that accessibility to be involved, did you feel that kind of encouraged you and empowered you to really take forward your game to where it is now? Because, I mean, in your introduction, as you explained, it sounds like going from kind of an idea that you're developing in the background to now being something you can really have a firm staple on. It sounds like the programs have really given it that empowerment to be pushed forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think more than anything, it was just good to validate where you're at and like kind of give you the confidence that you're not that far away as you think, and you're basically just doing the same as everyone else on the program, which is, I mean, as everyone else was doing a good job as well. And it's kind of like, okay, cool. I'm doing all right. And having the mentors also really helps building your confidence and like learning how to pitch and practicing your pitch. And I think for me, that was kind of the biggest takeaway of it all, like having the confidence at the end of it all to realize, like, okay, like I can get it somewhere. Like I'm on the right path.
That is absolutely heartwarming to hear that it's kind of just helped you. And obviously, Solomon, not to forget your kind of beginnings in terms of application and joining. What was your experience of that?
Okay, now I'm gonna do a whole like 180 on the good feelings and stuff. So I came in from like at the start before I even signed up. I was kind of at a low point in terms of the local industry. Every time I thought, usually whenever I applied for anything, I would usually get no answers or something weird like, oh, we probably don't think you'd fit with the studio culture or stuff like that. And I had nearly practically given up on the UK side of the games industry because every time I got a chance at something, it was usually from someone in someplace overseas, be it some Canada, a company in Canada, France, or I don't know, the US usually. And when I signed up, I thought, okay, I'm probably not going to get a chance. I didn't think, oh, my chances are pretty low, but I'll sign up anyway. And I don't even remember the form because it was so quick to do that it was, I guess it was a happy moment when I got an email saying, oh, you've been accepted. We want you. Don't run away, please. Like that. And what was it like from there I ended up making more I originally signed up in order to make the connections because growing up where I live, there's not many people who care about games. If even there was a mention about games, it was like, oh, that's kid stuff. What do you go do be a doctor or something, or computer science. And well, I'll just say this. I stopped saying I was a programmer and more of a game developer after the Tentacle Zone Incubator stuff. Yeah, I'll say that.
I absolutely appreciate your transparency in your situation. And what I do love about that is that it sounds like the incubator almost was like a reaching helping hand to say you are a part of this industry and you are worth it, because again, you're all amazing individuals. That's why I got you here. But to be less biased, I guess when you talked about like making the connections, Simon, did you do that through kind of the mentors, or did you really get yourself stuck in and took every opportunity that the incubator offered?
I tried to take as many opportunities as I could, and also through mentors. It was because of that I was able to get people that vouched for me in other places, and that helped me to get further connections and also opportunities that have ended up helping me go strength to strength. Like for example, I've had multiple games that have done well that I've released for free just to check how people would react to them, and then later went on to talk to publishers that showed interest and other stuff. But in order to take advantage of those opportunities and what could come from them, I didn't really have that much of I don't know. There wasn't people that I knew that I could ask for more insight on that stuff. But thanks to the connection through the Tentacle Zone and other stuff, I've had lots of help and insight from that. Yeah, that proved very useful.
That is really good to hear. And that kind of sounds like it's been a massive benefit in that in itself. Kind of talking about benefits as well. Lauren, what were the biggest benefits you didn't expect from the beginning going into the incubator?
I think for me the biggest benefit was, first of all, the sort of friendships formed with everyone there, because I think, I don't know, I'm always a little bit skeptical with online networking and online like cohorts and stuff. Like, it is generally quite hard to form a connection with people that you haven't really met before purely online. But I felt like it was all really natural, and like I was also maybe a little bit worried that it would be very networking focused, that it would be a lot of people just wanting to talk to you because they want the right connections, and if you don't have the right connections, then they don't speak to you. But it was like literally the opposite of that. Like, everyone was just really genuinely interested in your project, really cared about what was up and how you were feeling. And I think, yeah, like we're still keeping in touch with everyone, and that for me was just really nice and unexpected. I mean, in a very, very positive way. And I think the other thing I obviously didn't expect was to get a publishing deal on the incubator, like on the time I was there. And it was really helpful actually, because I could literally share the contract with my mentors, with lawyers that I got introduced to through the program. And I literally would not have had that knowledge if I wasn't on there. So that was really, really useful and unexpected.
I really love that aspect, that the publishing deal was something that you got driven through yourself, but you were able to bring it back for reflection within the incubator. So I think that's a really great testament to the support that it can give. And then, Eleanor, in terms of your kind of benefits that you've seen through the incubator, what are the most unexpected ones?
Well, it does align a lot with what Laura said, but I think I really liked the format of the sessions because, as I said, I was part of a lot of accelerators, and I've actually never experienced an incubator that had such a nice format of having, these 1 hour speaking sessions or like 45 minutes, and then these breakout rooms where we would split up the speakers, and then we'd have time with them to ask specific questions about our situation. Because usually it's just either, presenting something or, asking questions as part of a workshop. And so it's not deep enough, right? And so in this case, we were actually able to have the session, like the speaking session, and then have like a whole hour of, asking questions and have that one-on-one time. And then the speakers rotated as well. So that was really new. And I really love that. Like that's the format that I can recommend to any accelerator from now on.
Excellent. And then coming back to you, Simon, obviously you've explained some of the benefits, but were there any other unexpected benefits that you were able to gain through the incubator?
Well, during the incubator, I ended up doing a little quick game jam. I was inspired by some of the workshops that we did, and I'll just say that the game ended up getting close to like 1 million people playing it within a week, and then that game has helped me to make more deals and other stuff that's in the works, work that I can comfortably relax instead of overworking myself. So yeah, that's nice.
It's always good to have some kind of lean back space so that you can not only have the work be sustainable, but have your life feel comfortable and spacious. And that's just fantastic to hear. Just from a game jam, you're able to get that many people playing it from it. So that's fantastic, and I hope even more people get to play it. I'll have to grab the link to it and put it in post-production, and similarly we'll do that for all the games as well, because again, kind of gives great segue to ask more about each of your games. So we'll start with Eleanor. In terms of your game, could you give, I know you gave a bit of a summary for it already, but would you be able to explain a bit more and kind of what you are hoping for it to happen with it going forward?
Yeah, so I call it a community-driven life simulator because I want to involve people in decisions that we make with the design. So it's called Wholesome Out and About, and it's about exploration, foraging, cooking, crafting, and just living in harmony with nature. So you learn about sustainability, and you also learn about real life information, because every plant and mushroom and recipe and crafting instruction is real. So that when you play the game, you can then afterwards actually, like make the recipe or, go and identify the plant in real life. So what I want to do with the game is, like, my bigger vision is to actually, create a companion app on mobile so that when people play it on PC and console, that they can actually get that information straight to their phone so that they can use it in their real lives. And then integrate, real people's products, like real people's handmade products into the game, and like sustainable fashion brands, so that we can use the game as a medium to inform people about sustainable action and environmental action, and just, fun activities that you can do with yourself, your friends, and your family. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing. So that's why I'm also considering angel investment, because I want to build it into a bigger game that's not just focused on the game, but more as like a service around the game, like a platform.
I absolutely love that kind of bigger vision, especially with sustainability. I mean, yeah, as we are all in the UK, obviously there's a show called The Apprentice who recently did an episode around video games, and one of the games was sustainable. So maybe you should have been their mentor and showed them how it's done, because it sounds like you've definitely got the sustainability and fun gameplay down. Lauren, in terms of your game, could you explain a bit more and kind of the next steps and kind of future for it as well?
Yeah, we are currently working on a vertical slice with a publisher to take to GDC and, you know, start the whole higher pitch to platform holders and stuff. I can't say too much about where we're at because it's all still confidential. But yeah, in terms of the game, just trying to finish it, just trying to get, you know, get the content in, really get the horizontal layer solid and polish. And yeah, we've recently hired an artist to really help like expand on the art that is currently in and just expand what we have currently, basically.
Fantastic. And again, as you said in the introduction, it's very different to and someone's kind of games. So equally, what I love about the incubator so far is it allows people to express games that might not even be on the market right now, or games that can be really given that love and support to make them jump on the market. And I guess talking about that, someone obviously you've mentioned you've made multiple games of different kind of lengths and sizes. Is there any particular project that you're working on now that you can share and have big hopes for?
At any given moment, I'm usually juggling like 3 different projects, but the one that's closest to release and most notable, I guess, is a little small casual game, like a one-button skateboarding game. It was the game that I made as a jam game that ended up going kind of viral, and I. As I started like getting it ready for commercial release, I noticed like for mobile, I know that the audience there likes to make the games that they can get into very quickly, and also just get in and out of whatever time. But the hardest thing is trying to keep them there when you're making it free, and also not to push their buttons too much with ads, and just ruin the whole experience. But you also got to survive, so juggling.
No, that makes complete sense. And again, you know, it's good to hear that the current projects you've got have motion to them as well. Not actual movement motion, but actual business development motion.
Oh yeah, also forgot to mention, I'm also releasing it on the web as well, so it's interesting how much this audience is similar in both ways, but on desktop or people playing on their iPads on the browser. So yeah, similar audiences.
And I guess another question that kind of brings interest to me in that is obviously, as you said, you work on mobile, web, and any other platforms you can get your hands on that can make a good game. In terms of like the feedback and the material that was offered through the incubator, did you feel that was always relevant to what you were developing or to your situation?
I since I juggle everything, I guess from art, design, biz dev, whatever, it was always very relevant. But when it came to the design side, I would say just seeing my practices, or what I was doing in action, and seeing like player responses, that was also more valuable, I guess, in a way. But it still added on top of, it was more additive, I guess, on top of what I already knew and seen from my own players and customers. Yeah, additive.
Excellent. No, that's really good to hear that it wasn't subtracting, it was always adding, which not really great at puns, but I always try to. I do that. But nevertheless, Lauren, kind of you explained earlier that you were already in a full-time position. So I was really interested to, like you said, you kind of expanded or you've mentioned this already, but kind of while you were on the incubator, was the time management between working the day job and working on the game in the incubator really manageable and worked within your schedule?
I think the incubator did a really good job at placing the workshops and mentor catch-ups at times that you could make work. So like during lunch or late in the, well, not late in the evening, late in the afternoon, like around 5 or 6, which was easier for me to join. Also working because I had to be in a lot of meetings during the day already. So it was sometimes a little bit intense, not going to lie. But I think, yeah, it's you can be flexible with it yourself. And I think you have to kind of tune in for yourself what you can manage. And I think for me, I just put a lot of focus on the mentor catch-ups and the social activities from the incubator, and kind of dropped and took on what I could on top of that. And yeah, I mean, I think the time where I was working on the demo and the pitch to take to publishers, that was a pretty intense time because it did involve working in the evening and in the weekends if you wanted to do anything on top of regular work. But then I did go down to 4-day weeks with where I was working full time. So that massively helped because I could focus a lot of incubator stuff on that day and focus my own work stuff on that day. So yeah, I made it work.
Excellent. And I'm just noticing the time. We're going to obviously have a bigger Q&A bringing back Vincent, Nisha, and AJ. But I guess for the last segment for this session, I don't know, kind of relating to the previous two, but a bit more specific on your situation. From kind of how you highlighted your experience with the incubator, it sounded like you were in that state of being able to do it more full time. So did the offerings of the incubator clash with any other pre-established arrangements, or once again, were there ways that they really helped you kind of fit it into your ongoing schedule and be a part of the support?
Yeah, no, honestly, I was quite flexible. I was working on my game full time, and at that point I wasn't pitching to publishers yet, so I had lots of I didn't have lots of meetings scheduled. So for me, it was quite easy. I was able to attend every session.
Excellent. So I really, again, the variety of your experiences, I think, is what's made this really invaluable, because it shows that anyone can, from whatever walk of life they are in, they can come onto it. May they be a solo developer, not of choice, or already in a role but wanting to make that next step to create their own, or already on the journey. So I absolutely appreciate all your answers, and hope you will still join us for our next session, which will be, again, we'll have another 1-minute break where we'll let people grab a drink or refill their glass, I should really say, and have a bit of a breather, where we'll come back. We have everyone on screen to answer any audience questions or any remaining burning questions that I didn't get to go through. So join us shortly as we go into our last break for the session.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
welcome back, everyone. Thank you for sticking around and joining us for the audience Q&A and remaining burning question segment, where we have everyone back on screen now. I totally forgot this is mirrored, so my leaning of that way is just going off screen. But it has absolutely been brilliant to not only talk to the support network, but some of the faces of the first cohort for the incubator. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I will forward them or bring them forth to our panel. But one question that we've got that's more for Nisha. As an organizer, what should people who want to run an incubator think about? Which was one of my remaining last burning questions that I thought was appropriate for this segment.
Yeah, good question. It's really weird, but hearing Salman, Lara, and Elena talk about their journey sort of made me emotional because I forgot how fun it was as well. Maybe not for them because they were really doing intense kind of balancing acts, but how fun it was to see them each week and to have that going on in the background of the pandemic. Like, it was such a sweet group of people. I don't know if we just got lucky, but honestly, if you are thinking of running an incubator, just do it to meet some amazing people. And they're all very modest, I noticed. Salman, you're getting better at saying how well your games are doing, so well done. But it was such a good group of talented people, and we did get a lot of applications last year. And if you're thinking about running it, just do it. Just make sure you have a good dedicated team, though, because it can be very intense to make sure you are giving value to everyone's time. Our developers have other options, could do other things, but they chose to come here, and we just wanted to make sure they got the support they needed. And even now, when Elena was talking about angels again, I was thinking, oh yeah, Elena, send me your deck so we can make sure we actually forward it on to other people we know. So yeah, I just think just do it, get a team in, come to us, chat to us, we'll help you get set up and give you some practical points.
That is absolutely splendid to hear. I wish I set up the gif of Labouche doing "Do it, just do it." So just put fire behind me, and there you go. I've just had a question specifically come in for AJ. As you mentioned during your kind of beginning, you highlighted how the program's given you more food for thought about what you can do to connect with more early stage developers. Has your studio started outreach programs and other supports by being inspired by the incubator?
So we've not started anything to that level. I'd love to come and lie to you. We are still a small studio doing big games. So it's kind of like, in terms of like, I still own 80+% and I'm the only acting director at Delilah. So, right now where our focus goes is on things like this program. It's working with people who have established the programs and who have a structure in place to do them well. In terms of what we'll do for the future, obviously we're always looking to improve and seeing how we can be better. But right now, like, it'd be half-assed if we tried to do it, because we wouldn't be able to put the time and commitment that this sort of thing needs. So obviously, as anyone knows who's ever kind of come across us, our door is always open. You're always welcome to email us with questions and stuff, and we'll always look to help. But in terms of kind of more formal structured things, I'd rather leave that to the people that know what they're doing and just see how we can support and help those programs, as opposed to trying to start something within Delilah that we wouldn't be able to fully support at our size.
I really love, again, really appreciate the transparency, but also what I love about your answer is that you really want to give that full 100%, well, even 110%, and to be able to support programs that you can do that is better than doing the opposite. So I really do absolutely love that energy. I had another question come in for any of the mentees / of the first cohort. I was going to say practitioners, but then I was just like, nope. There's my mispronunciation again. You know, you can tell this is a dyslexic friendly activity when you've got someone who is. But to the question, for anyone who was a part of the first cohort, did you think you were lacking in certain skills or areas coming into the Tentacle Zone? So either Salman, Eleanor, or Lauren, whichever one of you wants to take that first, please feel free.
I mean, yeah, I can go. I think for me, so I'm a programmer, and I definitely don't have any experience with marketing or just pitching business. And I think I touched on it a little bit before, but like having the confidence and the sort of ability to sell yourself, I was really lacking in, because like I think as a programmer, you always try to be very honest and sort of humble about what you can do. And I think when you pitch, it's almost the opposite. Like you have to be super like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And yeah, like this is the best game ever. And I think that for me was a bit what I lacked and what I kind of focused on, like wanting mentorship in the incubator. Was that the answer to the question?
Yes, I think.
Okay.
I think as you highlighted, you didn't feel you had that skill, but you were able to, even without that confidence in that skill, you were able to bring it forth and really develop it. And equally, Solomon, Eleanor, if you'd like to answer this before we go on to the next question.
Yes, I'll go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead, Tom. No.
All right then.
So here's the humbleness that Nisha was talking about.
Well, I think Nisha could vouch for this. Like when I was coming into the Tentacle Zone, I wasn't as confident as I seem right now in my own work, and like throughout the incubator, it was kind of nice being told you do have something that's valuable, and trying to not. I also had to fight this urge trying to bet against myself. So as in like if there was something that I could reach out for that I could get something out of, not trying to say, oh, okay, if this doesn't work, okay, let me do this. Let's make it bidding against myself. Like if there's a small like little silence saying, oh, okay, and losing confidence instantly, and then saying, okay, I'll do this, lowering myself in ways I shouldn't, but. Yeah. Okay, hopefully I didn't ramble too much.
No, that absolutely did. You were able to be given that encouragement to just give you yourself that actual, yes, this is great, this is good, I'm going forward with it. And then Eleanor, would like to answer in as well before we go on to one more last question?
Yeah, no, for me it was kind of like the opposite to Laura, because I came from the business side and the pitching side, and I could sell the vision. But at that point, when I was in the incubator, I did not have a programmer or anything, right? I didn't have anyone that could tell me this is how long it would take. So planning was really hard. Like the whole project, like scheduling and all of that was kind of impossible almost. So I got the senior programmer, actually, Simon, from Payload Studios, who helped me, give look at my roadmap. I give you some estimates, and then soon after the program ended, or actually still during, I actually then had 2 programmers. So that was I solved that problem during the incubator.
Excellent. And then one last question before I give everyone one final leaving remark. So this question is for you, Vincent. So the question is, you supported the creation of the incubator and really empowered your team. Did you feel that was a really smooth decision from your part as someone of leadership, kind of expanding and thinking about not only business support but inclusion?
Difficult question, because a lot of the decision making around the incubator was taken when I was involved with the negotiation with some investors. So the credit really goes to Nisha. For me, it just seemed obvious, but I would never have known how to go about doing it. It's a lot of the gap is between thinking you need to do something, but then how do you go ahead and do it? And that's not something that I've ever been very good at, sadly. I was just really pleased to see that that it could be done, and to see what a massive benefit it's been to the company, and particularly to the individual staff members who participated. But that's just me being lucky more than anything else, sadly. I can't take any of the credit for it.
But that's also really nice, though, that you've been able to connect with your team and really depend on their expertise and work together as a unit. You bring in the leadership, them bringing their amazing talent and skills, and just making what is a fantastic initiative.
Yeah, it's been brilliant, and it's a huge differentiator for us, and really part of our DNA as a business now.
Great. We're kind of coming to the end, so thinking of a really good leaving mark, I'm going to have, well, it's going to be a similar question, but it's going to be worded differently for obviously the cohort and the support network. So starting with the cohort, so we start with Lauren and then go to Eleanor and then Solomon. What advice would you, or one particular tip would you give to someone thinking about applying and being involved in the incubator?
For me, I think it would be kind of having a good idea of what you want when you go into it, and like what you want to get out of it, because it only helps your mentors. Like, it all helps. What I mean is, it helps your mentors if they know what exactly you want, and if you have a good vision or a strong idea of what you want to do, then it becomes easier to kind of parse advice and apply what you need for your particular situation. So yeah, like, kind of go into it with a good vision of what you want, basically.
Yeah, for me, I would say, in the application itself, just make sure that you bring across the passion for your project, right? Because you're not working on something, without being passionate about it, right? So like, really just putting that passion into words, and then letting people know why you're working on something and why you love it. It's just always great for any kind of application.
Well, okay. I was gonna say fail fast, but that sounds terrible if you just think of those two words only. But what I mean is being able, it's just to add on top of what Laura and Eleanor said, just having like a goal that you want to get, but also trying to do like small goals in between the main goal, and trying to get wins there. And if there's some failure, at least doing it very quickly so you can succeed faster on it. Yeah. Yeah, so fail faster.
And then the final remark for the support network, and we'll start with AJ, then Vincent, and then Nisha. I'll kind of word it differently for obviously Nisha and Vincent, but AJ, kind of what advice would you give to someone thinking about becoming a mentor and supporting an incubator like the Tentacle Zone?
Yeah, I mean, it's just do it because you want to do it. Like, don't just do it for something to shove on your CV or do it as a tick box exercise, because, it's a commitment, and it's more of a commitment than your mentee will let you ask for, but you have to put real thought into it, because whilst I do my best to make sure I don't know the gospel, what I preach is from experience. The stuff we do as mentors has an impact, and especially for people who are where we were 10 years ago or so, like, the stuff we say matters. So just making sure they're putting the thought into it, they're putting the time into it, and they're going to make sure they, for that period of time they are being a mentor, they're giving everything, because otherwise there's just no point doing it.
Cool. And then Vincent, in terms of wording the question for yourself, what advice would you give other founders and leadership teams considering creating such initiatives like the Tentacle Zone and the Incubator?
Well, it was interesting a couple of years ago when we were looking for investment that some of the so-called professional investment companies, venture capitalists and things like that, could only see the cost of the Tentacle Zone, which was what we had at the time, and they couldn't see the benefit because the benefit was non-financial, and so they just didn't register. I would say that that's the wrong way of looking at it. There are huge benefits for businesses and for individual staff members to be involved in initiatives like this, and they might not translate into the financial bottom line, but that is not a reason to not do them.
That's really heartfelt, and I really love that answer. And then Nisha, wording it differently for yourself, for anyone that's considering about joining the incubator and being a part of it, what piece of advice would you give them in terms of applying, but also give them also a little hint of what to expect to come for this year's incubator?
Thanks, Dom. I would say make sure you actually apply. Don't start an application and then think, oh no, I just, lose the confidence in yourself. Just we look at applications really fairly. There's a diverse group of people looking at what comes in. So you really do have more of a chance than you think you do. And make sure you apply by the 8th of April, 5 p.m. I think we'll be in BST by then, but make sure you get your application in. And Dom, I can't remember the second part of your question, but I would just want to, before you jump in, I just want to say, without people like AJ, who actually give up their time, honestly, industry has backed us big time. We have over 45 mentors and speakers for this program. So yeah, I just want to say thanks to all of the industry who've given up their time, because we couldn't do it without them.
That's brilliant. And as you've technically answered my second part of my question, is what can people expect from this year? And already you've mentioned they can expect brilliant mentors like AJ. So that is brilliant. Well, I keep saying brilliant. I'm going to change it to superb. That's superbness. Probably that's the best way to put it without repeating my words. But I just want to give a big thank you to our amazing special guests, Nisha, Vincent, AJ, Anna, Lauren, and Solomon. Thank you all. Virtual applause is happening right now. You just can't hear it. But I will do clapping, which is the kind of hearing sensitive version of clapping for you. And just before we end, is there any last plugins and shout outs that each of you would like to give other than apply for the incubator before the 8th of April BST time?
I would just say, Dom, thank you so much for organising this. You are so sweet, and you're putting in all the effort to make this happen and doing a great game. So yeah, thanks very much.
Excellent. Well, in terms of shout outs, we'll be making sure everyone gets links to all the lovely games that these great creators have made and to their studios, so you can keep up to date on not only their progress, but also obviously the incubator. So thank you again, everyone, for watching and everyone who's involved. We're signing off, so have a lovely rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.